Thanks for having me, bro.
Thanks, man. Welcome to the pod. Good to have you. John Langan in the house.
In the flesh.
Yeah, man. So, no, we were just talking about, like, daily routines, right? And it's nice, isn't it? And I was saying it's important because, you know, we're the same age, I think, right? 43, right?
Yes,
81,
correct.
Born in 81.
First of 82.
First of 82,
Yeah.
right, okay. And I'm the July 1st of 81, so I'm like
Okay.
exactly a year and a half ahead of you, right?
No, I think it's 6 months. I'm January 1st, 82.
Oh, January 1st, 82.
Yeah.
So that's 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah,
six
pretty much the
months.
same.
Oh, shit, how
Yeah.
bad my math is. But no, man, I read something that you age. You don't age continuously. Apparently, you age in bursts. And the first major burst of aging, or one of the major bursts of aging, is this year, 44 years old, when you turn 44. And then after that, the next burst is like 66 or 62, something like that. So basically from like 44 to your early 60s, you're basically the same.
Okay.
But during that year of 44, you start to see some changes. You start, apparently, if you don't take care of shit.
Okay.
Like you start to see more wrinkles, more gray hair, more white hair. Obviously, I don't have to worry about the gray hair. Wrinkles, I'm still hanging in there a little bit.
You look good, bro.
Thanks, man. But I don't have that Asian skin, you know. Out here, everybody, all the Asians, it's like you've got to take 5 or 10 years off, however old you think they are. You have to add that because the skin is very good, and you know, reflects in you, right?
I'm okay, I guess. Yeah.
But and then apparently you become more susceptible to viruses, and like, you know, you start getting a little bit sore if you're not taking care of yourself. So
Yeah.
like it's important taking these preventive steps,
For
right?
sure,
Like
for
working
sure.
out, stretching. Stretching is huge.
It's a big one. It's a big one, yeah. Like when I was younger, I was definitely like very self-conscious of like people watching me stretch. If I looked like, you know, I don't know, if I was doing stuff that was kind of weird or like, you know, effeminate looking or whatever, I don't care anymore. Just whatever gets the job done, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
yoga, right? Like you'd be like, oh no, you don't want to do yoga. Yoga's for girls. Right now,
Yeah.
it's like yoga's kind of important.
I do try it, but like I always get criticized by the instructors. Cause like, I mean, I think you were also like an athlete in high school, right?
Yeah.
I think I was as well, and like, I just feel like there's certain positions we can't get into because like we just worked out those muscles so hard back in the day. Like they're just like very stiff.
If it's like, and if we're talking about the same thing, but it's
like
like
hips
the
for me.
hips.
Yeah,
the
hips,
hips.
exactly.
I can't. Right. I like even sitting up straight with like your legs out, flat on the floor is difficult to do for me.
Same
Like,
for me.
you know, it's
Pancake
tough.
pose, bro. Like forget about it.
Yeah, I can't do
I'm like
that.
getting 90 degrees is like really like I'm very accomplished hitting that. You know what I mean?
Even just bending at the hips, if I'm like, sure, I can bend down and touch my toes, no problem, right? But that's because I'm rounding the top of my back. My arms are kind of long, right?
Right.
But if I try to keep the lower back straight like this, I mean, I can maybe get to, you know, to here.
Yeah.
Like I can't before I start to round. It's tough.
Right. Yeah. I'm in a similar.
And that's hamstrings, and I
Situation.
stretch my hamstrings every day.
I mean, it's exact same situation
what
for
the
me.
hell?
Yeah.
Wait,
what sports did you play in high school?
I played soccer, baseball, basketball, and then I was skiing in the winter time.
Very similar. Yeah, I was soccer and basketball as well.
Yeah.
And I didn't stretch that much back then. I did a little bit, but we were all just like whatever. You know what I mean? It just like went straight into like scrimmaging or playing a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to whatever the coach did. I can't remember, but it was like 45. It was like 10 seconds this arm, 10 seconds this arm, 10 seconds your legs. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, I'm
Right?
super curious if we had done like our current routines back then, if we would just be like super limber, like gymnast types. You know,
I think it
in
depends on
2025.
your body too. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I feel like I'm not. I don't know. I mean, I've looked into getting some of those like hyperbolic stretching courses. Have you ever seen those like online?
I've seen like, I mean, I'm getting a lot of ads now these days for like these kind of like hip programs, or even like the full split program.
Okay.
Like for girls, but then it'll be like the guy version. Obviously, you're kind of working
Yeah,
towards
that's
that, but it'll still benefit me though, right? Even if I could do like a quarter, I mean, I think it'd be a quarter I can't do right now. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I'm thinking that I get the same, the hyperbolic stretching. Like it shows like this big masculine, heavy set guy like doing a split like this.
yeah.
Holy cow, if this guy could do it, maybe I can do it.
I mean, I
don't
think
know.
about it in terms of longevity, though, right? If you're like an older person, let's say I'm in my 80s or whatever, again, like having that kind of like leg dexterity, I mean, I'm sure it would probably save you from a couple falls here and there, you know what I mean? And that could be the difference between like a hip surgery and like 10 years of life.
Yeah.
I think about that now at this age, you know?
Which is scary. but true, like they say, legs are the most important. I saw this article that said you should be able to do 100 squats a day. Ideally, 100 squats with half your body weight on your back. So, I mean, I do squats every day, and legs are definitely, I mean, that's your core, right? Yeah, and once you reach a certain age, not for us, I mean, we're in our 40s, but when you're getting into your 70s, you're right, like a fall is like, it's a mortality rate. Like people die from hip breaking their hips and stuff like
Quality of life, you're done. You know what I mean? You want to be able to play with your grandkids, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking like that these days. I don't even have my first kid yet. I'm already thinking like that.
But I've got some friends, like I've got a friend here though, he's 81. My man is out there, he's doing it, you know? He's 81, nice. He looks good, he still plays a little basketball here and there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like that's how I want to be. I'm going to have him on the podcast. He's a really good guy. Amritat, you're coming on. But anyway, man, let's go back to you. So John, like, you have led a very interesting life. That's why I wanted to talk to you, right? Because, I mean, you were basically the guy who like introduced high-end bottle service to like Southeast Asia, to like Singapore and Bangkok, through some of the clubs that you opened, through some of the nightclubs that you opened like a decade ago or so.
Right.
You know, you're the one who introduced me to like VR entertainment and like like Ready Player One and all that stuff. So I knew we'd be able to have a good chat. Why don't we start with like how, because you're American, I'm American.
Yeah.
You know, we're both out here in Asia.
Right.
Why don't you talk about how you made your way out here, and you know what brought you out here from California to Southeast Asia?
Sure. I mean, I think we kind of like have a lot of parallels in that respect, right? For me, where do I start? I mean, just some background on me. My mom's from Taiwan. Like my family on my mom's side, they're like military from like, they're like Kuomintang from China, but then they like settled in Taiwan. So my mom met my dad there. My dad is like, he's a white dude, Irish American, but he's just really geeked out into like Chinese culture and history. He was just really into this stuff. Like he was very curious. So he was studying for his PhD in Taiwan, like doing his doctoral thesis, and my mom was like the assistant to his like advising professor. So she had just graduated from the same university. So they sort of met, and I think he was just like seeing her every day, and he was like a little socially awkward or whatever, but he would just see her every day, and they kind of just eventually kind of hit it off, and he asked her out, and then eventually like they got married. So they moved to California, and then that's where I was born. And I grew up like kind of in it's kind of like a rural area. It was cool, it was a nice place to grow up. This is like in Central California, kind of near San Francisco, kind of near Sacramento.
Bro, you're from the home of Nate Diaz, right?
Yes. Yeah, so, I mean, the reputation of my hometown, it's called Stockton. It definitely, how do I put it? How do I summarize it in a couple sentences? It's just a really interesting mishmash of people. Because, I mean, like, the area is rural. Like, you have, I mean, it's basically, like, they call it, like, what's the term for it? Like the breadbasket or something like that of California. We basically provide, like, fruits and vegetables for, I heard, like, it's, like, over 70% of, like, the United States, all from this area, right? More than mass-produced stuff. So there is, like, also, like a wine industry as well. But I found that, like, for myself, I went to mostly, like, private Catholic school because my dad was Irish Catholic, so he insisted upon it. So I was like privately educated all the way through high school. But where was I going with that? Yeah, it was interesting, like being half Chinese in that scenario, because like, I mean, I ended up going to school. A lot of my classmates were like kind of like rich farmer kids. It was like kind of varsity blues vibes, but then it was just mixed in because we had a lot of like really good athletes. Like my high school would like attract athletes from around the region too as well, because we were really strong in like football and basketball and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess like the best way to summarize for someone who doesn't really know American culture would be like a varsity blues kind of vibe. A lot of my friends are like that too. Really super cool kids. But at the same time, like, you know, I'm still playing basketball at the park, you know, it's still Stockton. So like, it's not ghetto, but it's just like, you know, the kids are definitely talking trash. And like, you know, there's a bit of bully ball going on and stuff like that. So I grew up a lot around basketball culture. Okay. Yeah, which is pretty cool. It was fun. And I studied really hard too as well. So there was that element, but I didn't party like at all. Like I didn't drink in high school. I mean, I did like a couple times, but it was like really like not how I was. I was really focused on studies because like my household was like, again, my mom's Chinese. It was a pretty Chinese household. My dad like even speaks Chinese and like, you know, we ate Chinese food in our household. It wasn't like your typical American upbringing, I would say. Not in a bad way, it's just different, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting. That you were almost like living in a bubble, but also inside Stockton itself. So there was like two different environments.
But I definitely wanted to get out. Like, I remember when I was in high school, like, I was studying really hard and I was thinking about college already, and I felt like there was definitely more for me outside of Stockton. Right. So I was applying to colleges and stuff, and I remember I got into Berkeley and I got into UCLA. I applied to a few other schools. I applied to Stanford, I didn't get in. And I remember I was deciding between the two. My parents were kind of pushing Berkeley. And I was very familiar with Berkeley because we would have like I was in Model United Nations in high school, and like we would go there for like a big conference every year. But in the end, I chose UCLA because I just went down there and visited. I was like, damn, like all the girls are really good looking. Like I could see myself really enjoying my college years here. So like I just pulled the trigger on that. And UCLA was definitely like a hugely different experience than my high school experience, right? Immediately, I found a group of people like my core group of friends who I'm still friends with like at the current day. They really took academics seriously, and I did at the time too as well, and I still do. I'm like definitely like someone who studies. How do I put it? I read a lot, right? But at the same time, kids who could also like go out and have fun. So they kind of like took me out and showed me the scenes. I had a couple of friends who were like frat bros too as well. Took me to some of their frats, and I got to like check out a lot of the coolest parties and stuff. UCLA was like it was a blast. I really enjoyed my time there.
Okay. Yeah, and then you studied what? And then how'd you get over to Asia?
So my major was psychobiology.
Okay, psychobiology.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a mix of like neuroscience meets like behavior.
Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of psychology too as well. It was interesting, but I had to take all the pre-med courses. So I took like, you know, again, biology, OChem, like biochem, all of that, which was, it was hard. I mean, again, it was also because my mom, you know, traditional Chinese, she really wanted me to be a doctor. If I failed at that, she wanted me to be a dentist, you know, like that whole thread. And then psychology, I was very fascinated by. I like just like thinking about how people analyze things. I myself am very analytical. So I found that would be like kind of a nice way, a nice middle ground, you know. So I graduated with that degree, but in the end, like I guess I use the psychology element in my job now, but like all the biology courses and stuff, it was just like me flexing to myself that like, hey, I can pass this class. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. So Asia, right? Basically, like going into college, I definitely wanted to do an exchange program somewhere. I wasn't too sure where. Asia was very interesting to me. Like I had spent some time in China and Taiwan and Hong Kong during my childhood. I spent 3 months in Shanghai. Like my dad had a fellowship at a university in Shanghai, Fudan. It's like pretty prestigious, right? So I lived.
Was your dad a professor?
He was, and then he also taught like at a high school as well, AP, and he also taught at junior college as well. So he had like multiple facets he was kind of like focused on.
Okay.
But yeah, like, so I definitely experienced China. This is 1990 China, which was like nothing like it is today. Yeah. I didn't really have that fond of memories of that time period, to be honest, because it was still a developing city, Shanghai at that point. Literally there was, I think 1 KFC in the whole city, and there's no McDonald's. It's crazy, right? Yeah. And there's tons of McDonald's right now or whatever. It's like very westernized. So as a 9-year-old, I didn't have that much fun. I played a lot of basketball there at the local little court, like near my dorm or whatever, but like, it was what it was. My dad, I mean, he kind of saw the future, right? And he's like, China's gonna be a superpower. I really want you to like, if you're gonna do an exchange program in Asia, I really want you to go to Beijing. And then I was kind of like fighting with him because I just didn't want to go back to China again. So I was proposing like Thailand because like the beaches are really nice, and like the movie Leonardo DiCaprio just dropped, and I really enjoyed that movie. I was like, I want to see those beaches, you know what I mean? Co-PP, bro. So in the end, we kind of negotiated, and we kind of came to a compromise. And the compromise was I go to Singapore, and I do a program there, but then I take like their semi-immersive Chinese program. So I did that, and then he's like, if you want to go to Thailand or wherever afterwards, like I'll just like pay for your holiday. Because my parents, like I'm not like from like a super wealthy family or anything like that, but like they had saved for a private university education for me. I ended up going to a public school, and as you know, it's like half the price. So I think they had a bit of extra budget. So like in college, I lived pretty okay. It was a nice living, you know?
Yeah, and now from the time that we went to school, at least for me, because I went to a public school in New York.
Right.
And now you look at the prices of public schools, and it's like what the price of private schools were back then.
Is it?
It's increased so much.
Wow, I haven't looked.
It's crazy. Like public schools now are like $25,000, $30,000 a year.
Right.
Whereas back then, that's what private schools were, and maybe
Yeah.
the best were like 40 or 50. Now they're like 120, 100,000 a year. It's
Right.
unbelievable the U.S. Higher education costs.
Yeah. I mean, California, like the university system out there is pretty weird. You have a lot of Asians in general, like in Southern California, UC Irvine, USC, UCLA. UCLA, people think it's a party school, but it's like not really. It's a mostly like kind of nerdy kids who study really hard in school, and then they kind of like are coming out of their shell. I'm like really a prototypical UCLA student, I feel, because I was like pretty quiet and shy in high school, and then in college I kind of started coming out of my shell. I was also really lucky too. My roommate was like dating this girl in Santa Barbara. You ever been there before?
Yeah, beautiful.
Just beautiful people too, right? Insane, bro. So we would drive up there and go party and visit her. Like, I mean, I have like a lot of flashful memories having like amazing nights up there. It's probably more fun there than UCLA.
Yeah, I imagine Santa Barbara will be more of a college town than UCLA, because UCLA is a city. It's like going to NYU. Like, there's no campus experience. You know what I mean? It's like, but you're in New York City. It's different. So you're going to the clubs, you're going to the bars. Right. So in UCLA, when you were going to college there, what were you hitting the town, or were you still like this broke college student just going to like house parties and stuff?
I guess when I was like 18, 19, I was more going to just like the frat parties and apartment parties and stuff.
Yeah.
But we were pretty lucky. Like I had my group of friends, a few of them, like for some reason, like a lot of the frats were really trying to recruit us into their frats. So they would always like offer us like guest lists of their parties and like really take care of us and stuff. So we were very well taken care of at UCLA. So that was great. In terms of like, in terms of me getting into nightlife, which is like a big gap from where I started college. Starting college, I really was like not that social. The big move for me was like I joined this like Eurasian Student Union. It was a new club that just started at UCLA. So the founder was like lived on my floor or whatever. So like by joining them, I became like the social chair for that group, and we started throwing parties. But like again, these are 18 over. There's like no alcohol. But again, like we would combine with these other Asian student unions, and then everyone wanted to come to our parties. So we had the prettiest girls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, Eurasian girls are very pretty. Were you making money on those parties?
We were, but it was like nonprofit, so it would just go towards the club. Then we just throw more parties or have like private kickbacks and stuff like that.
But is this like kind of where it like planted the seed?
Kind
like,
of.
I can make money doing something like that.
So what happened was like once I became 21, a bunch of the different promoters and stuff started like trying to poach me, because it was like now I can play in the 21-year-old scene and up, right? And that's a Hollywood scene essentially. So I ended up joining a label who like, I'm not sure if you heard of this group, like Far East Movement. Like they have like the song Fly Like a G6. Yeah, so I knew them like back when they were like, we were throwing parties where there'd be like, I mean it wasn't empty, but it definitely wasn't like, you know,
that song was
Billboard top 10 stuff, you know what I mean?
That song was super popular out here when I first came out. Like when I first came out here, in
I
like
think it was
2010, 2011.
I think it was like #1 on the pop charts for a while.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That was a big song.
Yeah.
So all right, now was this happening before or after your time in Singapore?
It's a bit of a mix. So like mostly after, I would say.
Okay,
mostly
so
after.
what was your first Singapore experience like? It was just like student life, or did you get a taste of Asia that made you really want to come back, or?
I mean, I was in a program with all the other UC students, so there was a big program. There's probably about like 50 of us, I would say, maybe 50 or 60, and we were at NUS, which is like, I mean, it's a very prestigious and a very serious academic school, right? But for some reason, that program had just a bunch of really cool kids. So I ended up linking up with like, we kind of like create our own little subgroup of homies, about 6 or 7 of us. And then one of them happened to know like a TV actor celebrity in Singapore, like through like Family Connects or whatever. So that guy was His name's Alan Wu. I'm still boys with him to this day. He would just invite us out. He'd get invites to like all the coolest parties, and we just like walk in. And that really blew me away. I was like, I think I was 21. Let's say I was 21, and we were just walking like the hottest parties, the hottest fashion parties. I mean, like, it felt pretty amazing. And I remember back then too, as well. Like, I was just kind of absorbed in the culture in terms of like fashion and lifestyle. This is very different than the U.S., very different than California. So I kind of embraced that. Then when I went back to Cali after, I definitely had a different perspective on things in terms of like how I like to socialize, the kind of people I hung out with, and the way I wanted, and the way I enjoyed myself too as well, entertainment-wise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you graduated college.
Yeah, well, I did like this whole kind of promoter circuit thing where I was working in Hollywood for a while, like as a kind of hobby, in addition to studying, right? And then I graduated, and then at that point, I was looking at going back to Asia for sure. I was looking at like Hong Kong or Singapore. It's kind of a blessing, 'cause you know how it normally works in college is you sort of have to like, there's like a round of recruiting. Like I think it's usually like the fall before you graduate. I had done an exchange program over that period, so I missed the whole fall recruiting period. So I was sort of like, okay, if I really want to do well, I really need to, I mean, I missed all the US recruiting, so maybe I'll just try to like see if I can like get something in Asia. So I ended up like joining a Forex money brokerage in Singapore. Got a job through some of my connects, and that was my first job in Asia. But then like I was socializing a lot in the evenings through like, and building my own kind of database and network at that time. And yeah, it was like, I mean, how do I summarize like this? Basically, like at that time in the Singapore market, there was a lot of just like corporate banking money flowing through. And then a lot of people were able to just like expend on their like expense accounts.
What year are we talking now? Like early?
This is like 2005 to like 2000, like let's say 10.
Okay.
Over that period, yeah. I moved to Singapore 2005.
Okay. And then at what point did you start thinking that like seeing this nightlife and, you know, thinking it can be improved and you can open up your own place or start promoting or, you know?
So what happened was when I first started out there, I was just partying for leisure and just building my network, you know, which was not that hard because again, I was starting like right at the top, you know. And then I kind of, how do I put it? I just, at that time, if you look at, there's different like kind of periods of my career, right? In terms of like what's fun for the masses. And at that time period, I could just feel that like VIP and like high net worth, that zone was about to pop off. So I was kind of like building my network strategically in that space. So again, all the prettiest girls I knew who were like sophisticated and all like the coolest guys I knew, I would kind of group them together. So I did get recruited by a friend of mine to help him promote a party. That was like kind of my first venture into nightlife. This was like, again, on the side. My full time, I was still working at the Forex money brokerage at this point. Okay. And he was basically managing a new restaurant, and the owners of that restaurant were like really prominent socialites in like kind of the party social scene in Singapore. And they brought me on as just a promoter for their party.
Right.
And then I was getting paid like per head, I think, and like I think it was just per head, but then like I was bringing out a lot of people, like, you know, 50, 60 people or whatever. So it was like the salary was like pretty decent. I mean, let me just try to like cut through this pretty quickly. That party popped off because it was my database plus their database, and I met all the people in their database as well.
Right.
So another friend of mine approached me and was like, hey, I want to start doing pop-ups at other venues. Like, do you want to join me in this venture? So I joined him, and then we brought on a sponsor for those events. And that sponsor was like doing really well with our support, because it was basically like around the time period when Facebook fan pages first dropped. So I was sort of doing influencer marketing for them by like doing a lot of like making sure their product was drunk by the right people, but I didn't really have the, how do I put it, all the data analytics that you'd have now. But still, the outcome's the same. If your product's flying, your product's flying. And if I'm your like dedicated sort of promoter, like kind of like person who's driving your brand like across the masses, like starting off again at the top, but like there's definitely a trickle-down effect, right, in terms of just like event photos and people seeing this kind of stuff and just hyping your brand up in general. It was, at this point, it was Belvedere I was working with under MHD.
Okay.
Yeah, because they were like fighting for market share with Grey Goose. Yeah, so I did that for about like a year, and then an opportunity came up where there was a nightclub that was like basically dormant. It was being used as an event space. So they came to us and were like, do you have a concept for this space? And at that point, I was promoting at a few other clubs, which are more mass. And I had the idea, like, why don't we just create a club that's just all for like a crowd that wants to party around people like themselves, for lack of a better term.
Which one was this?
This was Filter.
Filter,
in
okay.
Singapore, yeah. So I mean, a lot of my KL friends know about Providence, obviously, which was like kind of like, I would say the sister club to Filter.
Yeah.
But Filter was kind of the original in that sense that like, it was regionally very strong, because during F1, and F1 had just launched around this time period, people would come from like all over Southeast Asia to party at that one place. So that's kind of what got Providence started, is that a bunch of Malaysian homies. I mean, I don't know, should I name drop? And they don't party anymore, and they're like married with kids now, but like back in the days, like whatever, 15 years ago, like, you know, I was pretty close with like Jacob, Josh, and Kyung, right, from the YTL group, and like they were like, dude, John, like, you know, you do a pretty good product here, you know, you should do something in Malaysia, because it's pretty, you know, there's definitely room for improvement in the market out there.
Yeah.
So they planted that seed, and then when the opportunity eventually came up, I took the chance to like come over and open Providence with a local partner out here.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Filter in Singapore, and then you had another club in Singapore too, right?
Bunch, yeah. We had like Mink, which eventually became Bang Bang.
Yeah.
So the way I strategize in Singapore is I always had one club with more of a Chinese kind of focused demographic, and then another club for like a little more of an international market demographic. I was greedy. I wanted to control both sides. And at that time period in the market, it was like that whole bottle popping VIP like bottle service scene was still growing, you know? So yeah, so it started off with, so if you talk about the Chinese scene, it was Filter, and then Phoenix Room, and then Suite 26. But again, my model back then was always like 3 years and then close it, because like the definition of cool changes pretty quickly in this space, right? So I didn't want to, and also I didn't want to cannibalize myself, and then it's just much easier working on a new brand versus like working on a brand that's been around for a long time. There's pluses and minuses, but especially when you're talking about like a small place that's like focused on trends to sell, it's good to start over. Whereas like if you're doing like a really big room spot, like let's say like something like a Zouk or something like that, or a Marquee, maybe it makes more sense to keep that brand alive. Because again, like then it goes beyond Google reviews, right? It's just word of mouth. Like, I'm out tonight. Oh, it's Zouk. I'm gonna go check it out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how was it going from, first of all, what's it like to run a nightclub? Because, I mean, it must be taxing, right? Like, you've got to be awake at all different hours of the night. I mean, it must be fun as well, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I did some partying at several of, probably all of your clubs, and yeah, they were good nights for the most part. But I just couldn't imagine doing it 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
You know.
When I first started, it was really fun.
Yeah.
This is when I'm in my 20s, because like all my friends are there. I mean, a lot of my friends are there. We were really ahead of the curve. Like I see the gap between us and our nearest competitor. They couldn't, I mean, it was probably like, I guess if you could say it was anyone, it was probably Zouk. And I have like a lot of reverence and respect for Zouk. But at that time period, with those trends in play, they couldn't adapt to compete with us. And I was like really adapting our product. Like by the week, I'd be changing things. And it's just really hard to do that in a big corporate structure. You know, not that Zouk is that corporate back then, but still, it's a much bigger, it's much more difficult to change things versus like with us, I would just tell people and they would change overnight, right? So, it wasn't very difficult. I mean, back then, it wasn't very hard. In terms of like the lifestyle, I was okay, man. I was young, so I could still like go out and then like I could still wake up relatively early, get my workout in. I was pretty disciplined about that. I definitely wasn't working as hard as I work now. But again, it was timing. It's not that like I'm really, I mean, I was definitely ahead of the curve, but like at that time, I feel like there was just a lot of market share to be had. Even my competitors who we were doing better than, everyone was making money at that time. As the whole like kind of EDM mainstream movement started kind of dying down, which happened maybe I would say around, I don't know, late 2010, so like around 2017-ish, around there. It just became a lot more competitive and stressful for everybody, right?
Yeah, I mean, do you think, especially compared to nowadays, it's different generations, right?
Absolutely.
Like people aren't looking to go out and club and like get hammered the way we were back in the 90s and or the early 2000s and
Yeah,
For
right?
sure. For sure.
But no, I think like one of the unique things that you brought to the table, I remember distinctly, like, you know, bathtubs of bottles, like signs and sparklers and all that. Like nobody was doing that before. That was you guys, right?
yeah. The big one for us was the teddy bear with the T-shirt that says like "Pop Dom at Providence" or "Pop Dom at like Filter" or whatever.
Right.
That thing was big because what happened, I remember it was quite innovative, and all the girls would be like, "Oh, I want the teddy bear." You know what I mean? And then like they just like tug on their boyfriend's shirt, and then he'd be like, "Fuck, I gotta buy this thing. All right, 6 Doms, bring it out, rack it up." You know what I mean? Like little ideas like that. Like you're talking about the signs. We were pretty on point with our copywriting because again, we were really big. This is like probably during the filter era. Like 9gag was really big back then, so a lot of these like funny little memes. So we would like reword them to like match the club. We were pretty clever about like our copywriting and branding back then, and we just really stayed relevant in digital. So back then it was This is all pre-Instagram. So it was Facebook. We would just be like dominating the feeds of people, you know. And on top of what you were saying earlier as well, like there's just different types of like club models as well, in the sense that like there's the bottle popping club, right? And the bottle popping club is really like, the model is you have, let's say, 100 guys there. They're all getting tables, and their objective in that night is not to dance to music. Their objective is to meet pretty girls. Then you have girls coming out on that same night, and their objective is, yeah, maybe dance, take some photos and stuff like that, but also like they're pretty available to meet guys too as well. So that is the setting. And me as the operator, I'm monetizing off of that dynamic. And that dynamic, you can make a lot of money, right? Whereas there's also other models, right? So another model would be like a big room where like people are just going like almost like a mini rave, where they're going just to enjoy the music and enjoy the vibe and like, you know, just there's certain types of music which bring out a certain type of like soulfulness in people. Like, I mean, I have a lot of friends who are really into trance or like melodic techno or whatever. And with those genres, like they really lose themselves in the music and they're there for that experience to be like in a theater scenario around other people. It's almost like a church scenario, right? To be around other people passionate about the same feeling and you sort of like, and that's what you're paying the money for. And in those situations, people maybe aren't getting as drunk, right? They're not buying as many drinks,
Right.
Because that's not really their intention is to like get messed up and meet somebody. It's more just to take in the experience, right? Which I'm in that mood sometimes on my side, right? But it's a completely different revenue model. And then I feel like a lot of clubs who are in that space, it's a lot harder to make money, you know? Because again, you can all have tables, but the tables are kind of awkward. They're like, okay, like I'm paying all this extra money, but then I'm not meeting any girls. The club operators are not really bringing girls to the table. It's not that like it's their job to, but still like, you know, in the bottle popping clubs, it kind of flows naturally. They kind of want to meet the guys, whereas in other scenarios, yeah. And then what happens is like, the end result of that is that the business may not be making as much money or may end up losing money in the big picture. And it's like, if you're an operator who is not even surviving, you're not doing much for the culture when you're closed. You know what I mean? So these days, especially after my time working with Zook and Genting, I'm very programmed to like make sure first it's like, we're healthy, we're making money, and all my angles where there's potential monetization, I'm like covering my ass. And then beyond that, I do as much for the culture as I can. Yeah.
All right, so you've been doing, you did a lot of work in clubs, so you've got to you must have seen some shit. Like you must have seen some fucking crazy nights during those clubs, whether it was, you involved or other people involved? I mean, you must have seen people dropping dimes on bottles, right?
Yeah, I've seen like 100 Dom train. But I feel like Marquee these days is even crazier in Singapore, like during F1 and stuff.
Yeah.
I see some China kids like going super bananas and spending like, whatever, 80, 90K and stuff like that. Sing, it's like, what's that ring at, like 300K ring it or something like that?
Right. In your day, what was the most you saw somebody drop at one of your clubs?
Maybe like 50 or 60 Sing. Yeah, which is
Still.
still crazy.
Yeah,
you know?
still. On alcohol, that's just getting poured into strangers' glasses.
Well, I think what I did was during F1 one year at Mink, I just like created an ad where it was like, 100 Dom train, like kind of as a joke, But someone bought it.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't want to say his name. Like he's kind of a friend of mine, but like I think he was like, because I was like, no one's gonna buy it. It was more of a meme kind of thing, and he actually bought it. It was bananas.
100 bottles of Dom at how much per bottle?
I think it was like 500 Sing at that point.
It's
It's probably more now. It's probably around 800 now, but like back then it was around 500. So yeah, it was with 50K, which is like that again. That's probably our biggest ticket. I mean, but then again, like I would see 10 to 15 is like I'd see that on the regular, not like every table, but like I would see a table pop 10 to 15. Let's say every week.
I tell you what, 500 for a bottle of Dom's not that bad.
Back
Actually,
then,
that's kind of
yeah.
cheap. That's
Yeah.
kind of reasonable.
It wasn't too bad back then.
Like
Yeah.
even before I came out here, bottles in New York were like bottles of Dom were probably like $900, $1,000, something
Right,
like that.
right.
Bottles of Goose were like $300, $350.
Yeah.
Dollars US.
Right. It's even more expensive now though, man. It's crazy. Like, I mean, Singapore is a whole different ball game, but like, yeah, they're definitely like going through.
But there must have been after parties too, right?
I mean, in Singapore, not that much, surprisingly. Malaysia, I feel like there's more of that. But Singapore, not so much.
Did they drop in Malaysia? Were people dropping money on bottles in Malaysia too?
Yeah, for
back
sure.
in those days?
For sure. But I felt like in Singapore, it would be like some random guy I didn't know who just like would be popping off.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas in Malaysia, I usually knew who the person was. It was like it was someone in the inner circle who like we all know him. You know what I mean? Yeah. There was some client entertainment as well. But like, I mean, if I had to compare, like, I mean, if you really want to compare like Providence versus Filter,
Sure.
which are probably like my two favorite clubs I've ever operated, right? I love them both. If I had to pick, I probably lean a little bit more towards Providence because like a lot of the guys I worked on Providence with, or the people like who were my friends back then, like I built a lot of business relationships out of it, right? And I feel like the Malaysians really appreciate it when you like come to them with something that's like international quality. Whereas the Singaporeans, and they still really appreciate our product, but there's just a lot of international things coming into Singapore. Yeah. Whereas in Malaysia, I think at that time, there's some cool stuff here now, but at that time, like there weren't that many, and I really made an effort to make it like super fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
no, it was fun and it paid off.
Yeah, for sure. And there's been a lot of of my just like friend of friend or whatever. There's a lot of love connections that kind of came through that club as well. Like I've gotten like at least 4 wedding shout outs being like, yeah, we met at Providence, or like, we like really like connected at Providence or whatever. Filter too a bit to that extent, but like, yeah. Good memories, bro.
Yeah,
Good
that's
memories.
cool. That's
Yeah.
cool.
So then basically I was doing like a lot of this like of these bottle popping type clubs. So Providence, well, Filter is definitely a bottle popping club. Providence was definitely a little more music driven, I feel, just because it came out a bit of a different time. EDM was kind of getting its own kind of personality, and we were playing a little bit of I'd mix in some ratchet hip hop as well with the sound. So just like I don't know, I just felt like it get people spending more money in hip hop culture at that time. And at the current time too as well, just talks a lot about splashing out. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, Providence went well, and then I went back to Singapore after that. We had a new club opening, that's Bang Bang was opening in Singapore, and Phoenix Room. So I went back to open those new spots. Oh, I'm sorry, not Phoenix Room at that point. It was Suite 26. Went back to open those, and then after that, I eventually I left my old company, which was like a big move for me, right? And Huey from Zook and Genting like recruited me over to join Zook. So I was there for 5 years as like, I mean, started off as I was a VP in Hong Kong working on the ship, but eventually I kind of like matured into like my global innovation role,
Right.
which was really cool. I mean, I saw a lot of really cool things and was able to like use a lot of my skills too as well, which, I mean, again, people kind of like look at me as a nightlife person because that's where a lot of my success came in terms of like the press. But like, I just see myself as like an entertainment kind of geek, you know? So I was able to kind of like delve into a lot of these other pockets and stuff, which was like really fun for me.
Yeah, no, you introduced me to a lot of this entertainment side in terms of like the void, in terms of virtual reality.
Yeah.
Particularly the void. Like that was one thing that you told me about that really impressed me. And I went to New York and I tried it out in Madame Tussauds.
Oh, nice.
And I did the Ghostbusters experience.
Yeah, I did that one too.
It was unbelievable. I mean, like we were a Ghostbuster for 15 minutes.
For sure.
Right? Yeah. It's like 4D with the floor shaking, smoke coming in your face. You could smell it, you could feel it, and then you holding the the photon pack or whatever. It was really, really cool.
Super
And after
cool.
that got me into like the high tech entertainment industry as well. Like I started really following it and paying attention to it because, I mean, especially after you also introduced me to Ready Player One, which I then read the book and have since of course seen the movie like a dozen times.
Yeah.
And yeah, like that's the way the world is going, right? Like we're creating a simulation within the simulation.
For sure.
Right? We've got I mean, we just keep getting closer and closer in terms of living in this digital world. And until one day, who knows, maybe we will be in something of a Ready Player One-ish environment.
Like during like the COVID period, like what was that like for you in terms of media consumption?
Media consumption
And like
during
games
COVID.
and stuff like that. Socializing, let's say.
I really started like COVID, like lockdown COVID. We talking like I really started getting into podcasts during COVID. Like I started consuming a ton of podcasts and reading books. I started reading again, like reading more books, and I was reading a lot of science fiction. I think I might have read Ready Player 2 during COVID. I can't remember when that came out, but Ready Player 2, Dune, Isaac Asimov's Foundations. I read a bunch of different books in terms of science fiction during that period, and movie consumption, I guess. Games, yeah, I played a lot of Fortnite. I got into
really?
Fortnite. Yeah,
Okay.
I got into Fortnite during that time, and I got into Fortnite, and I was pretty heavily into that for like a hot second.
Okay.
Addicted, playing 5, 6, 7 hours a day sometimes.
Is the gameplay like kind of like Quake? I mean, this is like an old head question, but like, is it kind of like Quake-ish or no?
It's a battle royale. You know PUBG?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
PUBG. Yeah.
Again, but these are like,
It's battle royale. So 100
Okay.
people land on an island,
Oh, right.
and you have to be the winner, the last one surviving.
oh, like Royal Rumble styles.
Yeah, but it was Royal Rumble. That's what it was called. It was called like Royal Rumble, and it was super cool because you get to choose your character, your avatar, and you get different. They made all kinds of different skins for the player, but they also had these branding partnerships. So they'd have like Marvel characters, DC characters, influencers, like Mr. Beast has a character, right?
Okay.
But then not only that, they started getting into live streaming. So they were holding events in the Fortnite world. So like Fortnite had, because Fortnite is an amazing platform, right? It's not just a game. It's an entire platform for gamers where you can build your own game within Fortnite as well, right? So Fortnite's got hundreds or thousands of games within it. Right, and it's got the classics.
Kind of like Roblox, like ish.
It's getting to that point, yeah,
Okay.
because you can build your own game. They have their own island, and you can build your own game on that island, right? But not only that, they started doing live events in Fortnite itself.
Yeah, I
So, like,
remember Travis Scott, like
right, Travis
Marshmallow
Scott.
and stuff.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I watched that, and it was really cool. It was like I remember watching the first live event, like live video game event during COVID. I thought that was super cool, and not only these musical acts, but like within the game itself, because the game had a storyline, right? And when one season ended, something big would happen, and like it would change the entire game for the next season. So they would do it live. And there would be a countdown, and everybody would watch. I remember staying up till like 2 a.m. watching. It was insane.
They would align the concerts with this, or
What's that?
like the concerts would be aligned with these like sort of like big kind of
No, those were
switchovers?
separate. Those were
Oh,
separate
okay.
entities. Those were separate events, totally. I mean, they even had a movie. They showed them. I think they showed Terminator or something. I can't remember what movie it was, but they had a live movie shot, and you could view in Fortnite. And And because of you, I bought Sony VR glasses, so I had virtual reality.
Oh, nice. The PlayStation one.
Yeah, the PlayStation one when it first came out, right? And it wasn't perfect, right? But you could see the potential in it. And particularly, they had this one app that came with it, where I think you were on stage with U2 when they were doing a concert, and it was unbelievable because you were on stage with U2, so you could look next to you and there's Bono singing. You can look next, there's The Edge, playing the guitar, and then you can look out to the crowd. And there's 50,000 people screaming and yelling, almost as if they're screaming and yelling at you.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, wow, this is unbelievable. Like, this is the future of entertainment. Like, if you can get one VR seat courtside at a basketball game of the NBA Finals live, rather than paying, $5,000, people will pay $100, to sit in that VR seat, and you could sell it to 1 million different people with VR headsets, and all of a sudden you could stream live, to a crowd. And I thought the same thing with the concert. Like, if you could do that with a concert, it would be at that time. The resolution wasn't there yet, right? It wasn't 100% immersive. Like, it felt like it was, but you could still see the lines a little bit, right? We're talking, 2020, so 5 years ago.
Yep.
But since now, I believe, especially like with Apple's, right? Like, the resolution's ridiculous.
Right.
I mean, even with Meta's glasses, I think. I haven't tried them, but the resolution's pretty good. Which ones do you have?
I'm on Quest 3, but I mean, like, back during COVID, I was on Quest 1.
Okay.
And I held on that for a long time. I was really happy with my Quest 1. I mean, for myself, how do I put it? Definitely a lot of it's kind of dropped. I mean, the hype has dropped off a bit, right, over the past like year and a half or whatever. But I think I'm pretty hardcore because I still use my VR set like pretty much every day for like hour.
Really?
I use YouTube in VR because I like to I just feel much more immersed. Then I have a separate account set up like in my YouTube where I just see different types of content. So like my regular phone content, that account is like all it's probably similar to what you're getting, like podcasts and like, I follow like a lot of UFC and like stuff like that. Whereas like my YouTube account on my VR is like, it's so different. I don't know. A lot of K-pop videos. I like K-pop and the videos are just really immersive in VR. What else?
I watched a movie in VR, and when you do, it's almost as if you're sitting in a movie theater because the screen is so huge, and you're there. It's not a VR movie, but it's like sitting in a movie theater because the screen is just so big.
They can do 3D as well, right? So stuff will pop off the screen almost,
Yeah, now they can. I haven't experienced that.
So it's funny, man. Like it influences my decision making with like what I watch now too. So like. Just not to go on a bit of a tangent, like in terms of content, right? Like in terms of like what pulls me in. I used to watch a lot of just like really long form movies and stuff previously. And I don't know, man, I just don't have the patience for it anymore. I think it's because of TikTok or whatever. So like recently, what's it called? Love, Death, and Robots dropped a couple years ago. These sort of like anthology type shows where they have like smaller episodes, 8 minutes up to like a half an hour. Oat Studios is another one. There's a few horror ones too as well, I think. Like
Secret Level recently on Amazon.
Secret Level, exactly, yeah. So recently I've been watching just like, I'll go into YouTube and I'll just look up like shorts. So some are like thrillers, some are sci-fi, and some are horror, you know what I mean?
Short movies or shorts? Because there's a difference between shorts and like short films.
Right.
Shorts are like reels, right? Like
I would say they're like short films, but the average timing is probably 10 to like 20 minutes.
And there's some really good quality
There's some
out there.
super dope ones, man. I'm like still digging through right now. There's a couple of like producers as well who have just catalogs of content, so I've been really geeking on that recently.
Yeah, the guy who did Neil Blomkamp, the guy who did District 9.
Yeah, right.
He's got a whole anthology of short movies that started on YouTube. I would do it because I try to farm out talent from there because I produce films.
Yep.
So I'm like trying to find special effects guys who are doing stuff cheap,
right,
and who can do a good job because some of these 10-minute films are amazing.
Yeah,
right?
They really they capture it's like the climax of an actual like thriller movie, right?
Yeah, and they can't be doing it for that much money because there's no way to monetize it, right?
For sure.
So yeah, I've definitely emailed a few of those creators to try and get their contact information and see if I can't put them to use.
For sure.
Unfortunately, they're more interested in making YouTube videos.
What about yourself in terms of like entertainment consumption like right now? Like what are you doing?
No, I look, yeah, I do podcasts regularly. A lot of YouTube podcasts though. So not just, I don't really listen. I listen on sometimes on Spotify, like if they don't have a video, but I prefer YouTube podcasts because it has a video element to it.
Yeah, I like the
Right.
referral system too as well, right? So if I can find other things, I just like to throw up my algorithm so I can get more similar content that'll like enrich me more, you know?
Yeah, and I can subscribe, and then sometimes I just be like, oh, I'm in the mood for this guy, and I'll Google him and I'll YouTube him, and then I'll go to his channel and see which one I haven't watched. And there's so many different kinds, right? Like there's documentary style, there's storyteller, there's there's news, like current events. So like I'll listen to like the All In podcast. I don't know, that's like a bunch of business guys out of San Francisco. I'll listen to like alien UFO podcasts. Like this guy Jesse Michaels is really good. I'll listen to like mysterious stories. This guy, it's called the Why. I don't know, the Why channel. Like
Okay.
it's very good. And it's funny because like sometimes you get attached to some of these guys. It's like that guy. I caught him when he had 400,000 subscribers. Right now the guy's got 5 million subscribers. I'm like, oh, I got him early.
Yeah,
Right?
there's
Almost
a
like
sense of
buying a
pride,
stock
right?
Early. Right.
I get the same sense of pride. I'm like, yes, I called that one.
Yes. So yeah, during the day it's all YouTube, right? And then at night it's all Netflix, Apple, or HBO or Amazon Prime. Like I'll watch at night. I'll watch that,
Okay.
before for bedtime.
Yeah.
Like that's when I'll watch my long form. So that's when I'll catch up on TV shows and movies.
Okay.
But that'll only be like after I don't know 8:30, 9 o'clock probably after 9 o'clock.
I heard like through a friend about like what's really popping right now is they have these like Chinese like serial shorts. So it'll be like 3-minute episodes, but it's just like really drawn out over really. And I heard that they're just popping on socials right now.
Yeah, I heard about that too in China,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's a pretty good idea. Like doing like 3-minute soap operas that like continue. They're like cliffhangers.
Yeah, exactly.
So and they do one a day. So every day you have to keep coming back to it. I heard those are really killing it in China. In China primarily. I don't know if are they doing like on like Weibo and all those like super apps.
I haven't heard of anyone in the West doing it, but I think there's a market gap there. Yeah.
Pretty good here. Yeah. Because I was like watching Reels and then that thing shows up and I'm like locked in for 3 minutes. I'm like, God damn it, I have to wait for something else.
One of the problems I have with Reels and Shorts, first of all, they're addictive, dopamine, crackhead, junkie stuff, right? And of course I watch them every once in a while, right? Everybody gets hooked in. But it annoys me that there's no date of when it was posted. That annoys the hell out of me. I don't know if that annoys anybody else because especially for like newsreels or whatever, it's like, dude, I read that like 2 months ago or whatever. Like, why is this coming up my feed? You know what I mean? Or like you'll see something I never heard of and I'm like, wow. I'm like, when's that from, right? And I can't find out because there's no date. It doesn't tell you the date that it was posted.
Oh, I never noticed that. It's interesting.
That's something that annoys me about those. And not only that, of course, the fact that you get addicted to them and you just get lost in a digital, daze.
Yeah,
for
it's just a
10
black
minutes.
hole. You just like fall down that little spiral.
It's terrible. I mean, honestly, I think it should be regulated. Like they're doing it in Australia, but I think particularly shorts and reels and swiping should be regulated. I mean, Facebook does it on purpose. You know what Facebook does on purpose, I've noticed? They're training you to continuously use their app, right? If you have notifications and you push on and there's a red dot, you push on that red dot to check your notifications, you check them, okay, done, right? You go back to the homepage, the red dot is gone, right? 2 minutes later, that red dot is back. And then what do? You check the notifications. Has anything changed? No. But they're training you to push on those notifications. They're training you to make certain movements with your fingers so it becomes like a ritual.
Right.
The same way Reels and Shorts and TikToks, it's boom, 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 right? It's a ritual. Have you ever found yourself, I know I have, you ever found yourself doing something on your phone like this, and then you're like, wait, so why am I doing that? Or like getting out of one app and going straight to another app, and you're like, wait, I don't need to go to that app.
Right, right.
Like, why am I doing that? Because it's
TikTok
like,
definitely got it figured out though. I mean, I think compared to Reels, I feel like I can get sucked in. I don't go to TikTok very much because of that.
I've stayed off TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm on it. The podcast is on it. The reels are on it, but I'm not on it. Like
Right.
me personally, I don't touch it because I'm just too worried about the fact that I don't want to get sucked in. You know, it's too much of a time waster.
So, I mean, quick change of topic, but like similarly, I'm curious, like, are you into like immersive, like IRL entertainment at all?
Oh, I love IRL entertainment. Yeah. So we were talking about that before, right? Like, I know you're into a lot of this stuff. Like, you were asking me earlier about like geocaches, right?
Right.
So yeah, I've gotten.
Explain what geocaches are to the audience. I'm sure most people don't know.
Okay, all right. So geocaches are really cool, okay? It's basically like a real life secret world of hidden items all around the world. And you hook into this app and they tell you where these items are around your neighborhood or around your city. And then it gives you a general vicinity of where the item is. And then there will be a clue as to where you can find the item. And you use your geocaching app, your geolocation app, to track and navigate yourself to that item. And once you get there, you try to decipher the clue, and you have to find whatever's in that geocache. And really what it is, it's just mainly a sheet that you sign to say that you found this geocache. Some of them are bigger, and they have like items in a box that you can exchange. You can take something out and put something back in. Then there are other things called multi-caches, where a multi-cache is where you would have to do some sort of a math problem, and you figure out the location, like the longitude and latitude of one of the caches. You go there, maybe you solve a clue, and then it'll give you a second part of a math problem. You go to a second one, and a third, and that's where you finally have the cache where you can have the sign-in sheet. And some people are super clever with these things. Like I got into it a couple of years ago with my son because my son loves maps. He loves going on maps and looking at maps. So I said, what is it that I can do? So I looked this up and I said, wow, this looks really cool. And it's like a treasure hunt. So we've gone all over and we found them everywhere. New York, KL, Japan,
really?
They're everywhere.
Okay.
They're in airports, they are everywhere.
I really wonder how big the community
And once
is, you know,
you're
players.
in it, it's like this secret little community. Like people outside the community are called, what do they call people in Harry Potter who aren't part of Harry Potter?
Oh, like muggles or whatever?
Muggles, yeah. People who aren't in the community are called muggles, right? And I mean, you could be sitting at a bus stop, and I could be sitting next to you. Reach under the bus stop, under the bench, pull out a little secret magnetic box, and boom, there's my geocache. And I'll sign it, and I'll put it back, and it's like a little spy exchange. It's like being part of this secret network of hidden items all around the world. It's really cool. And
every map is basically created. It's basically a virtual map in the app, right? Where you can kind of like have a general idea of where the things are. It's all story told through the app, and the maps are written by actual people, right?
No, the map is, it's like a Google Maps, right? And then on the map, you'll see dots.
Right.
And those dots are each geocache within that area.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
Like I even have a geocache that I've hidden and placed. My son and I, we did one in somewhere in KL. Okay. And you have to find it. It's in Damansara Heights, if you must know.
Cool.
And it's the only one in Damansara Heights, and we've had like 25, 30 people find it.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a really good thing to do with your kids. Like if you have kids, it's like a fun day out, testing their navigation skills. I let him do it. You're looking for stuff. But people get really clever with this. Like, I mean, I've seen people use magnetic no smoking signs that they stick onto something, and you have to peel it off, and behind it is the sign-in sheet.
Oh.
There's some that are hidden in trees. They can be hidden under a bench. They can be hidden in a fake rock. I mean, there's just so many. People are very clever when it comes to this, and it's quite cool. And that got me into something that's really cool. So there's a treasure hunt, right? And this guy, John Collins Black, so there was a treasure hunt from like the year 2012 by this guy, Forrest Fenn, in New Mexico, multimillionaire.
Cash
right?
prize?
$1 million plus.
Wow. Okay.
Treasure box filled with treasure. The guy wrote a poem, and in that poem are clues where you can find the treasure. It took people 12 years to find that treasure, okay? And I knew about that, and I thought that was really interesting and cool. I didn't ever get boots on the ground and actually go and look for it, but I did study the poem numerous times. Last year in October, this guy, John Collins Black, he's a Bitcoin millionaire who, last year in October, this guy, John Collins Black, right, this Bitcoin millionaire, he was inspired by Forrest Fenn to do a treasure hunt himself because he went looking for the Fenn treasure and couldn't find it. He hid 5 treasure boxes across the United States with a total value of between $2 to $3 million. 4 of these have mid 6 figures, and then there's the lion's share treasure, which is worth over $1 million. I bought his book. I have it right here. It's called There's Treasure Inside, right? And in this book is apparently all the clues to like finding his treasure. Like, see, gold nugget, right? Gold bracelet. In the back, there are 4 chapters. Each chapter is dedicated to the small boxes. The entire book is for the lion's share.
Okay.
So ever since I've read the book through a couple of times.
I mean, it's like hidden in code in there, or is it like, what's the...
No, it's like hidden. That's the thing. Well, the four smaller ones are meant to be easier, right? Like there's one box called the Appalachian Trail box. So that's going to be somewhere along the Appalachian Trail.
Like near like North Carolina, like in that area, is that where it is?
Well, we don't know.
It's a huge trail, right?
It's
like
a
covers
trail
like
that goes
7
from,
states.
It goes from it goes from Georgia to Maine.
Oh wow, okay.
So yeah, I mean, there's speculation. I've had some speculation for North Carolina, Vermont, New York. So there's a couple of places that look very interesting. Then he's got 3 others. One of them is called the Past and Future Present box, which is there's a crossword puzzle, not a crossword puzzle, excuse me, just a word puzzle, like a word search, and then there's a cryptogram. Okay, cryptogram has been solved. There's Discords, there's Reddits, there's YouTube channels, all dedicated to this book. This guy's doing a 2nd and 3rd print already. He's sold out. He was a #1 Times bestseller this year.
Yeah,
now
that's brilliant.
Now he's doing like 100,000 copies of this book, selling it for $30 a book, right? It's almost going to pay for itself.
Yeah.
But and then he's got one dedicated to Forrest Fenn. That's again within the same states that Fenn's treasure was, which would be New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, I believe. And then he has a Pokemon box, which I don't know much about, but I know that the chapter in that book talks about him taking a road trip from North Carolina, which is where he's originally from, to Houston, Texas, via New Orleans. So most likely that box is in the southern region of the United States. And the idea was to hide these 5 boxes in different parts of the United States to give people an opportunity to find this treasure. So I think that's really cool, right?
That's super cool.
Talking about IRL stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm working on that. I've got a couple of. I've got clues. I've got some strategy and tactics. I'm trying to think outside the box on how I can get my share of that treasure. Hopefully one day this will go down.
Yeah.
As I'm holding one of those boxes. But yeah, I like that kind of thing, like adventure. You know, getting outside. That's the whole point of it, is to get IRL, get out of the digital, get into the real. You know.
I heard there was another one, like, I mean, I'm not super well researched on this, but there was like one where it was like everyone starts at the same time, and then they drive from like country to country, like trying to like find these things. I don't know if I'm tripping or not.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know.
like a competition where like it's almost like imagine like a marathon type scenario. Everyone's starting at the same time, but I know they're definitely in cars, and they're like racing like around Asia. I can look this up later.
Sounds like the Gumball Rally or something.
Maybe,
like
but this
that.
one definitely involved like finding like a treasure type situation.
Oh wow,
Or a
that
prize.
is interesting. I would be
Yeah.
interested in that. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But yeah, I mean, I've thought about setting up something like this myself in KL in Malaysia. Yeah, small scale. You know, give away $1,000. You know,
Yeah.
do a couple of clues, and then
For
and then
sure.
let it grow. You know, just for fun. Right. I
Yeah.
still might do it.
If you did a sequence of them, like if you did like 10, like I don't know, you did like every year for like 5 years, I think it would like, you'd probably gather a following.
If you do it once a month.
Yeah, or once a month.
Yeah.
It'd be quite interesting.
Yeah, like it's like a scavenger hunt, right? I mean, I used to love scavenger hunts as a kid. Do you remember those? Scavenger hunts?
Like what do you mean when you say scavenger hunt?
Like where
exactly?
people where like you set out a clue, you go, you solve the clue, you go to a location, there's another clue, you solve the clue, you go to another location, there's another clue.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
and then
yeah.
the winner at the end,
Right.
like the first person to get to the end is the winner of the scavenger hunt.
Right,
And
right,
they end
right.
up winning the prize.
Right, yeah. I organized one of those when I was in college as a part of that Eurasian club I was telling you about. It was probably one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. It was so fun to do it. How we did it though is we actually like, I did it around, you know, the Grove in LA?
Yeah.
That shopping mall, we did it around the Grove. It was during Christmas. There was so many different like cool landmarks. And you said to take a group photo with your whole group at every landmark. And I remember everyone came back to me and they were just like, that was so cool, John. I was like...
And you gave clues as to what the landmarks were?
Exactly.
Yeah,
It made me, it felt really good. I really enjoy organizing things like that too. Yeah. That's interesting, man. What about like other types of IRL stuff? So for example, like have you been to like any of the escape rooms here in KL?
Yes, I have been. God, I think I went to the one in the Link. Or was there
Was
one
it
in the Link?
Hantu?
Maybe, yeah, but I think before that it was something else.
Oh, okay.
And I went there. I did go to one a long time ago, like I don't know, a long time ago.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but yeah, we ended up getting out. We escaped, and it was like dark, and there were like ultraviolet lights, and things were glowing in the dark. I know you're really into that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I do like immersive entertainment, and it's kind of fun if I'm with my friends. We have to like conquer it together.
Yeah.
But the time spans are pretty short. But I just want to recommend one place because I played a lot in Singapore. I played a lot in KL. There's one operator here. They're called Breakout, and they have like a few subsidiary brands. So Breakout's their normal escape room brand, which is still like really cool. But like they have these other brands. One's Hantu, which I mentioned before, which is more of like a horror experience
Right.
with actors, and it's really well done, very scary. And compared to normal escape room, it's just much darker and creepier with the way they have the setting.
Yeah.
So, because you don't have to solve any puzzles really, you're just kind of like walking through the experience. And because of that, it's really scary. Because there's certain parts you got to walk into the dark. You're just like.
So is it basically a haunted house?
It's like a haunted house, but it's very narrative driven, and it's all like it's very cohesive. The narrative.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, there's one. It's more of like a Malay kind of like.
Traditional village style.
Like a Malay Hindu or something. I don't know. Yeah, it's got that kind of feel.
There's one at Link called Immersive Haunted Hotel,
Uh huh.
and there's one at Curve called Traditional Village Style Horror Experience.
Yeah, I've only done that one. It's called like something Parangi.
That's
or
not a very
something.
good name. Traditional horror style experience.
Well, it's
So
like
the
it's
name is called A Mother's Wish.
Okay, there you go.
Yes, and
Okay.
the other one's called The Tourist.
Okay.
right. And there's this like
Okay.
I mean the other one I want to mention too as well before I forget is like they have this one called Spy Game at the Curve, and it is like super jokes, bro. It's so funny.
So is it good or bad?
It's good. It's
Okay.
good. So what it is it's like a normal escape room,
Uh-huh.
but they have like live actors in it. So
Right.
a lot of like the narrative for this one, I'm not gonna blow too much of it or whatever, but like essentially you're kind of like imagine as yourself as like you're like a secret agent or like a
Okay.
cop or whatever, and you're infiltrating this cult,
Okay.
right? So like they have like guards that are around. So what happens is like you go in, they give you a walkie, and like the walkie. The guards can't hear it, right? Imagine it's in your ear.
Right.
So they'll be like, yo, the guards are coming, so you have to like run and hide, and they have like costumes and shit you can put on, and like you have to like steal stuff from the guards. It's like it's really, really immersive.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
How big is the space for something like that?
It's funny if you go with a big group because you have to cram into like little spaces with them and like not laugh,
Right.
which is very challenging. But like I don't know, I just never like Singapore doesn't have anything like that. I mean, I haven't seen anything like that in LA or like SF or anything like that.
Really?
So I thought it was pretty cool. I recommend it for sure.
That would be interesting to bring something like that to the States. Because I feel like these IRL things, like in real life things, should get more and more popular as we get deeper and deeper into this digital world that we're creating, right? Because people are spending more and more times on their phone, and people need a break, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I think these detox hotels are going to be a thing one day, like detox resorts, where digital detox,
Right.
where
right.
you go and you put your phone in a locker for a weekend, you know, and go have wellness or scuba diving or chilling on the beach, volleyball, whatever, right? As
For
long as
sure.
you're not on your phone,
Yeah.
right? And no TVs in the rooms, right? Digital detox. I think that's going to be a big business, you know, in real life entertainment like this. I was talking about that with somebody else earlier about how, like, you know, human to human contact is going to be more and more valued as, like, AI becomes more pervasive, as robotics become better and more prevalent throughout society.
Yeah.
You know, I think that human to human interaction, human to human contact is just going to be, it's going to be more valued.
Yeah, I could definitely see that for sure. I mean, I'm just trying to think of what it would be like. I've been to a lot of resorts, like they don't like necessarily have you lock up your phone, but they'll have like no TVs in the room. And they kind of like, they have like a very set program on like activities. So you're sort of like, you're definitely not going to be sitting around your phone at all. Which is like, I feel like that's kind of like baby steps in the space you're talking about, right?
Yeah, because I mean, I feel like it still happens though, right? Like people go to these resorts and they're still, you know, on the phone, on social media, on WhatsApp, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you've got a beach, you've got the ocean, you've got a pool out there, and yet you're still in the hotel room flipping through your phone.
Right.
It's just, it's a waste. It's a waste.
I feel like I hang out with a lot of creators too, and they're like shooting content a lot as well. Like when we're in these scenarios too. Not a bad thing, but it's like, you know, you're definitely not drinking up the nature, you know?
Right.
Which is like a bit unfortunate, like for people like us who have actually been around pre-cell phone era.
Right. We're the last like micro generation, right? Like the Zennials, I would say. Like maybe the tail end of Gen X and like the very beginning of millennials, right? The Zennials. We are the last generation to fully experience a childhood with no internet, but yet teenage years with internet, right? So we're like in a very unique, we're like that transition generation, that like micro generation of just transitional people who've actually experienced both. And it's weird because when you talk to younger people now, I feel like my dad, like back in the days, you know, when I was riding my bicycle in the neighborhood and you know, but
They're like, what the fuck's a VCR?
right,
You know what I mean?
right. Like what, you know, you went out and played catch and basketball. I feel like kids nowadays, they don't do it as much.
I think after 2002, that's when, because like I'm 2000s and we did all those things. Just that for us, internet came on in the earlier part of like 13, 14.
Yeah.
For you, it might have been like 18, 16.
Yeah, it was like 16 for me. I think I got AOL around then. Were you at AOL?
No, my first real experience of the internet was like college, was freshman year.
Okay.
I didn't have a computer at home when I was growing up, when I was in high school. Like I went to a friend's house who had like an AOL and he did a chat, and I went to another friend's house who had like Wolfenstein 3D. You remember that?
I remember that, yeah.
That's the first true first person shooter.
That was pre-Doom, right?
Yeah. Wolfenstein 3D. My friend had that on like some Japanese computer. I can't even remember the name. No, it was a weird name that's not around anymore. I can't remember, but yeah, I didn't have one. So I remember when I first went to college and experienced the internet, I was like, oh my God, it was unbelievable. That's when what was it? What was that music sharing service?
Oh, there was like Kazaa, Napster. Yeah.
Napster was unbelievable. Like I started making playlists, downloading everything. It wasn't even my computer; it was my roommate's computer. I had my own playlists. I had my own fantasy teams. Yeah. It was incredible.
Yeah, I think at UCLA we had like T1 or T3 like connection, and I was playing we were playing a lot of Unreal Tournament back then. Like my buddies and I. You heard that game?
Which game?
Unreal Tournament.
No.
Oh, it's like it's around the Quake 3 era.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fun. Like I really enjoyed it.
I was never the biggest gamer. Like I just wasn't. Like I played Bond in high school.
Like
Bond
GoldenEye.
was like GoldenEye. Yeah,
GoldenEye. That game was great though.
Like we would just
timeless.
I think that I don't even know if that was high school. Was that high school? It was high school or maybe early high school, late junior high school, right?
Yeah.
And we would just, we'd come home straight and just tournaments, right? Everybody would just sit around and play Bond. We would do one shot, one kill. That would do.
Yeah,
Eventually, that's
License
what
to
we
Kill,
got
the
to.
facility, right?
Yeah, the facility. Natalia.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then just sports games like Madden and then Tiger Woods golf.
Okay.
And that was it. Those were my Mario Kart. You know.
Yeah, I played a lot of Mario Kart too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
But I mean, and then in my later year, I got into Fortnite. And then that was it.
That's a big jump, bro.
Yeah.
Even like Fortnite, like it's not even on my radar. I mean, it's on my radar. I know about it, but like I never really got into playing it.
My brother got me into it. We took a trip to Japan together, the two of us. When I had my restaurant group, we would do an annual trip to Japan, and we would do a trip to Japan and that another place. We were staying in Shinjuku, and they had a virtual reality gaming hall. But at night, he would be on his phone, just watching people play Fortnite, like watching Ninja and Lazarus, these streamers play Fortnite, right? And that's when I first heard about Mr. Beast, because he'd be like, "Oh, Mr. Beast is in the chat. He's gonna drop someone $10,000." I'm like, huh? I didn't understand the business model for the longest time. I'm like, I don't understand. You mean this guy just comes into a chat and gives somebody $10,000? He's like, yeah. I'm like, why? He's like, because he's Mr. Beast. That's what he does. I'm like, I don't get it, right? I didn't get it until I finally, obviously Mr. Beast became Mr. Beast, and you start to see how he grew his YouTube channel to the biggest YouTube channel in the world by just keep reinvesting into his channel, which I thought was fascinating, but it took a while for me to understand his business model. I didn't get it, because at first that's what he was doing. He would just come into video games and just drop 10 grand into like a random person in the chat, And that's how I first heard about Fortnite. I heard about Fortnite and Mr. Beast around the same time, which was like, I don't know, 2019 probably.
In Fortnite, are you like playing with friends simultaneously?
Yeah.
Is that a big part of it? Like,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
connection with your homies you're playing with.
Yeah, you totally
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
that but when you guys are playing, like, is that mostly the case, or do you ever play alone where I'm just like?
No,
by
I
myself?
play alone all the time, but yes,
Okay.
you also could play as teams. Like you can play as 4-man teams.
Yeah.
And then, you try to obviously beat everybody else.
Right.
Or you can play as 2-man teams. And now it's monetized. Like there's professional players who make money playing these games.
They can help you rank
And there's
up.
tournaments, and there's national rankings, and there's arena, and
Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool. I find a lot of the games I play, like, so I kind of got off the shooters because people are so skilled, you really got to put in the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like a little more casual, right?
Mini sweats.
Yeah, so I started playing like a lot of the Naughty Dog stuff. So like, for
What is
Uncharted is the
wait,
big
wait,
one.
hold on. What is Naughty Dog stuff?
So Naughty Dog does,
Game studio.
it's a game studio.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
So
okay.
what's the other one, like that zombie show?
Wait.
I have Red Dead Redemption at home, but I just couldn't get into it.
I think that's Naughty Dog as well.
I couldn't get into it.
Red Dead Redemption is Rockstar.
Oh, you're right.
People who made GTA.
GTA, yeah, correct.
Okay, I remember playing GTA back in the day, but
Uncharted's a bit less open world.
Okay.
So it's like you kind of got to follow a route, but it's really immersive. Like I was playing during COVID, and if you kind of feel like you're in these tropical environments, which is pretty cool.
The Last of Us.
Oh yeah, it's The Last of Us.
I love that show. The Last of Us is an amazing show.
Yeah,
You watch that on HBO? It's amazing.
did.
It's really good.
I
The
did.
show is a one-to-one replication of the game.
Okay, and season 2 is coming out in April.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that. Pedro Pascal killed
Yes.
it. I love the girl too. I don't know her name in real life, but she's awesome.
Yeah.
They've been doing pretty good with video game adaptations in terms of television.
There's definitely a following there, you know. For
That's
sure.
because it's IP. That's all Hollywood
Yeah.
cares about these days is IP.
I'm
you know?
surprised there's not more like video game IP like in the theme park space. You know what I mean? Considering how big gaming is these days, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's true. Like a Last of Us virtual reality. Trying to kill zombies.
Like a
whatever,
Fortnite
hallway.
roller coaster, bro. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if one of these guys. Yeah, like Rockstar Games. That totally sounds like a theme park, right?
Yeah, for
Rockstar
sure.
theme parks.
Yeah.
Right?
It's definitely maybe something there.
Yeah.
Roblox, right?
Yeah. Well, Lego's already got Legoland, right?
Yeah.
I mean, why couldn't you have a Minecraft land?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You know what
I mean, guarantee you got the plug-in of following for sure, right? And
Oh.
all the kids would want to go.
Exactly.
I know there's a Super Nintendo Land just launched in Japan, like maybe a couple years ago. Or
I was
whatever.
just there. I was
Oh,
just,
were you?
I was just there in Osaka with my kids
Okay.
last weekend, and we went around. It was at Universal. It's at Universal Studios.
Right,
So
right.
they had Super Nintendo Land. They had Waterworld, the typical stuff. Not Scooby Doo, Snoopy, Jurassic Park. Yeah, it was nice. It was really done.
Question
Really well
for
done.
you, like, I mean, obviously you're a father with like young kids, right?
Yeah.
In terms of like the way that entertainment is being kind of like fed to them, and in terms of how you see it evolving, in terms of what their interests are like where do you see the next kind of like 5 to 10 years of like entertainment consumption for them, and how like all these new variables that are in the mix right now with, let's say, AI, games, all this kind of stuff, how is that kind of affecting the outlook?
Yeah, it's really hard to navigate because it is changing so fast, and it's hard to navigate because in terms of what you can make sure your kids watch, right?
Yeah.
And it's a double-edged sword because YouTube, for example, is such a powerful tool in terms of education. Like my kids, my son particularly, has learned so much from YouTube in terms of history, geography, just, general knowledge, right? He's learned a lot. I mean, he also watches a bunch of, silly influencers doing, pranks and playing Minecraft and silly stuff, but that's fine. But I could see how if a kid didn't really get a chance to gain any of that general knowledge and they just went straight only for the silly stuff,
Yeah.
how it could totally corrupt their brain.
Right.
Like
right.
luckily we kind of put him on that path of learning this. My daughters, on the other hand, they're just watching the entertainment stuff as of
Right.
now. I mean, they're young, they're only 2 and 3, right?
Yep.
But the other thing about YouTube that I think is a little bit dangerous is the fact that there's so many options and you can easily switch. So if I give my son the television remote control and you have the TV in front of him, the smart TV, I mean, he's just scrolling, looking for what he wants. If he doesn't see it, he'll scroll again. You know what I mean? So he'll constantly be looking for something. He'll find something that he likes and he'll watch it, right? But then he'll just keep scrolling, right? Whereas we couldn't do that because we didn't have the option to do that because there just weren't that many options.
You'd be like
in terms
dipping
of-
into like a TV show halfway
Entertain-
through, like trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? During our era.
Right, no, but then like you didn't have 50 other TV shows that you could watch.
Yeah, true.
Right? I mean, I remember when we were young, I remember the freaking wooden television box that had the thing you had, every time you changed out, remember that? And then the first network cable boxes were these boxes that were like this big and they had like 10 or 15 buttons on them, and you'd push one and that's the channel that you'd go to. And then there was a switch, and if you want, that was like 1 through 10. And then if you wanted to go 11 through 20, you push the switch, and then those buttons were 11 through 20. Then if you wanted to go 21 to 30, those buttons represented 21 through 30, and it was like 30 channels.
Yeah.
Do you remember those?
I mean, I'm not even sure.
I remember those.
Okay.
Hilarious. But anyway, so going back to my kids, right, and navigating like next 5, 10 years. I mean, I'm definitely teaching my kid how to use AI. Like, I'm teaching him how to utilize AI as like a tool. Like in terms of like, if you don't know something, you can ask AI, right? You can have it. That's as far as we've gotten. Like in terms of like stories, yes, you can have it help you with a story and that kind of thing.
Like write a story?
Just like tell him a story at bedtime if he wants to hear. If he wants AI
Okay.
to tell him a story at bedtime or something, like
Yeah.
you do that.
Like funny interjection, but like I was playing with like ChatGPT recently, and I don't know if you remember like back when this is going such a funny direction. Like back when I was little, we'd do these games like where this is again pre-internet, right? We would like do a continue the story game where it'd be like each of us have a piece of paper, like me
Okay.
and 2 friends, and we'd write like a paragraph, then we just swap, and we just continue to write the story. And at the end, we'd have 3 stories that are completely unique, right? It was just a fun, creative activity for like a little kid. So I started doing that with ChatGPT. I was like, hey, like my girlfriend had like these like plushy toys with like names or whatever. So I integrated them into the story, and I was like, write a story about these characters with these names, and then but like stop. You can just like, I mean, obviously with the prompts and stuff, right? I was like, stop after like 1 paragraph, and ask me, I want to like say the next sentence, and then continue on.
So you were playing with ChatGPT.
I was playing with ChatGPT, and I was amused with this for like 5 days straight, just like writing different stories. I mean, there's so many different like use cases that like we haven't even really, a lot of people just don't know about, or people haven't even discovered yet, right?
Yeah, you could do so much. I mean, I'll have ChatGPT explain him physics. So I'll say like, explain physics to my son, you know, who's 6 years old, in a way that he can understand it, right? And in a fun storytelling kind of a way.
Right.
And then that'll be his story, you know?
Do the same with like crypto, Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Right.
Finance.
Exactly.
Right. And then, yeah, but where's it going, right? And how are we going to do it? And how are we going to navigate it? So I'm going to try and keep my girls on the same path.
Yeah, I'm asking this question, by the way, for like all the young parents out there who just like, I mean, obviously you're very tech savvy.
Yeah.
So in terms of like parenting, how do you guide like these kids along, you know, to stay on track, and also to like optimize, you know, intelligence, knowledge, like values, all this kind of stuff through these kind of tools, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we don't allow iPads at home. There's
Okay.
no, the only time we allow iPads is when we go on airplanes. And that's strictly for passengers, it's not for us. It's not for the kids. It's, you know, out of respect for the rest of the passengers on the plane. So we allow our kids to use an iPad on airplanes.
It's instant peace though, once the iPad comes out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, that's why it's so easy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even phones. Like, I really generally don't allow phones at the dinner table. Like if we go out for eating, but if they start acting up too much, you know, sometimes the phone is just the easiest thing to give them. But we only use it as a last resort. I mean, if guys like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, who developed this technology, didn't allow their children to use cell phones, I don't think that we should allow our kids to use cell phones on a regular basis. You know, there's saying something. It's like what we were talking about earlier with social media. It's neural programming. I mean, a phone is programming you how to use it and how to be addicted to it.
Right.
You know, I mean, these guys, when they were first developing a lot of these apps, and even the UX for like iPhone and stuff, they were consulting with psychiatrists and psychologists from Stanford on how to keep people stuck on these phones, right? Like the same way you want to make an app to be sticky, or you want a website to be sticky, they want the phone to be sticky.
Yeah.
And I'd say they achieved 100% success with
Yeah,
that one.
for sure. Especially the Chinese, man, they're like on it.
Yeah, there's some wild stuff. Did you see this thing in crypto recently that some mysterious person I can't remember their name, burned like $1.8 million in Ether, and they said that these guys from Ruth, look this up. Look up the name of the hedge fund that was called out for being brainwashed by the Chinese government, and apparently that the Chinese government was brainwashing these hedge fund owners, and these hedge fund owners were brainwashing their employees with nanobots.
Really? I didn't hear about this one.
It's just nuts. And I wouldn't, usually a story like this on the internet, you know, I take it with a major grain of salt, and I still will, but this person wrote these messages attached to his receipts, like on the blockchain, of where he burned, you know, multiple millions of dollars in cryptocurrency. So somebody spent millions of dollars to get that information out. And I think they did it by donating it to WikiLeaks.
Huh.
Yeah. You find anything on it?
Surprisingly, no, I saw it passing.
It's some guy, I don't have my phone. I don't remember the name of him, but he burned millions of dollars, apparently, in Ether, which I thought was nuts.
Sounds like a Mr. Beast kind of schematic.
Yeah, but the thing is, right, there's no benefit, right? Like, where's that money going? It's going to WikiLeaks.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I don't think Julian Assange is doing any money laundering after he'd been locked up in the Ecuadorian embassy for 10 years or however long it was.
Like, back to like the AI thing, I asked you the question about your kids, but for yourself, like in your day-to-day, like how, like in 2025, like how are you using AI to like optimize your day-to-day experience?
I mean, yeah, I'd say it's replaced Google by 80%, maybe 80% on my phone, like the way I use it, for sure. It's definitely replaced Google.
You have like the premium account for
Yeah.
ChatGPT. I do too. So
And
yours has the memory, right?
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. So you can ask it questions about like
It
your
knows
problem solving
everything.
process. Yeah, it's really crazy.
It knows everything. It knows everything about me. I mean, I use it, for work. I use it for editing. I use it primarily for editing, like writing. When I write,
Yeah.
I'll use it. So the way I'll use it is I'll write paragraphs out, and then I'll say, okay, edit this.
Yeah.
Clean this up for me.
Yep.
Right? Because that's what
Or
it's
like,
good.
I don't like this sentence. Like, give me 5 options, like in which you can maybe make it sound better or whatever.
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
that too as well.
Yeah, because that's what it's good at. It's good at the filler, right? It's
Yeah.
really good at the filler. I mean, it's even getting better now at being able to have its own voice, because you can, I think that I use it so much that I could say, write this in my voice,
Right.
and it can do it
Okay.
if I wanted it to. I use Grok too, because I have an X premium account. So
Okay.
I use Grok a little bit. I use it as a sounding board on theories that I have. I don't use it for programming or anything like that yet, but I want to start, because I just don't have, I guess I'm still afraid because I don't have any experience in programming, right? So I wouldn't know what it's messing up and what it isn't. But I would like to experiment with it doing some apps. I just don't really have the time, But I think this year is definitely going to be the year of like agents. This is the year of AI agents, and it's already happening. I mean, you can create your own agent. It's just not very easy. I mean, ChatGPT I think has agents now too. If you have the super premium account, which is like $200 a month or something like that.
Like, I remember when it first dropped, like my first immediate thought was like, why can't I create a personality and put that person under all my contact list and add them to group chats with friends and just have them do shit for us? So for example, like, hey gang, we're gonna book a movie ticket tonight. All right, agent, like, sort it out for us. And then it's in the chat and just sorts it out. I feel like that's not that many steps away. Like, you could just do that. Like,
No,
why
that's
is this
happening. That's
Oh,
happening
is it?
now. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
happening now. I saw a demo, not even a demo, a real life use case of some guy using it on Facebook Marketplace to source, specific items for him. And it was contacting sellers and it was going back and forth, conversing with sellers
Right.
of these things. But then you have to give it access to your accounts if you want it. If you want that, like, you think it knows a lot about you now.
Right.
You have to give it everything then. You have to give it your Gmail passwords. You have to give it your Facebook passwords. You have to give it access to your social media profile. So
How do you feel about that?
Look, fact is, it probably
They got my info already, so I'm kind of like, whatever.
They already have the info. Yeah, that's a fact. They already have it, right? If you look at, they already have they already have the info. So it won't really matter.
I guess once you go like medical records and stuff like that can be a bit more sensitive, right? I don't know. I was running some simulations with it, like with my investment portfolio, and it was just really interesting to see like the advice it gave,
Okay, found it. Chinese Ethereum holder spends 6.8 million to warn against mass mind control.
Wow.
A Chinese man transferred more than 2,553 Ether worth 6.8 million to various addresses, including a burn address and WikiLeaks donation, while claiming that Chinese entities and corporations are controlling people with mind control technology and devices.
Right, and those mind control technology devices that he's referring to are nanobots.
Yeah, on large scale, and all military powers are using base stations, radios, and nano-brain computer chips to control all citizens.
Base stations, radios, and nano-brain computer chips to control their citizens in China.
As the brain-computer interface and mind-reading technology keeps developing, there is a new mode of crime in which wild animals become puppets or complete slave to the digital machine.
Now, I would normally take that with a grain of salt, but this guy burned $6.8 million in crypto to get that message out, which is bananas,
Yeah.
right? And
I wonder what kind of nanobots are talking about. Like, are they microscopic, or can you actually physically see them?
I don't know. A lot of
Yeah.
people are talking about these things with COVID vaccines anyway, right? The conspiracy group.
Yeah.
There's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there who talk about this with certain food groups and certain vaccines. So it wouldn't be the first time I've heard of nanobots being involuntarily injected into population. Then again, I go deep on conspiracy theories. Not saying I believe all of them, but
Yeah.
I do listen to them just to hear what's going on and think outside the box because it's interesting.
Yep.
But That is fascinating. That is fascinating. $6.8 million to get that out. And that message came out in the blockchain, like in the receipt of the blockchain. It was like attached to the payments.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, right?
Yeah. I wonder why he did that. Can you just like post it like online? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he was trying to make it like,
Draw the attention to him, right?
well, he
Yeah.
couldn't post it. Right. Yeah. That's a very good point. And what's the guy's name who did it? It's like Lee Huizun or something. I don't want to butcher his name.
I mean, it makes sense. Everyone looks at him when he does it. It's like committing, I mean, not the equivalent, but like, you know, a mass killing.
Right.
Everyone's definitely looking at that killer being like, what the fuck, bro? This is a similar what the fuck, only nobody dies.
Right.
Who lays he?
Who lays he?
Okay.
Okay, this is a new mode of crime in which the victim is gradually deprived of its senses of desire until he becomes a complete slave to the digital machine. And if one day I become a victim of the final stages, I will leave the world. It's all translated from China.
Okay.
Find it.
There you have it. That guy's got some balls. What are you working on currently, man?
So the past 2.5 years, I've been back here in KL. I took 2 years off. When I went back to California. I lived a month in Bali. I lived a month in Thailand. Just like kind of wanted to, like you were saying, just get out of the sort of like really intense work environment that I was in, and wanted to kind of just like open up my pores to like whatever else was out there, and figure out what I really want to do next. And like getting drunk all the time was not at the top of my list. So I had a friend, well, I have a friend who I'm working with right now. So just some background on his company, like his family, they run a shipping business. They're probably one of the more prominent shipping families here in Malaysia. And they have assets that they've bought through time. So like it's mostly real estate. They have like a hotel in Langkawi, a water park in Langkawi. They have a ship based in Port Klang. It's like a pirate ship, tall ship. And they recently acquired the old Utusan Melayu building and the printing press next door to it.
Where's that?
It's in Chan Sao Lin, so not too far from TRX and Trek. It's like near town, but it's an industrial area.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I first came on board, I've been consulting them for 2.5 years. My first project with them was this ship. It was just kind of like chilling in Penang. We ended up moving it back to KL. And I was working with the owner's son. I mean, he's also like an owner of the project. And we came up with the idea to start throwing parties on it to build some brand awareness for it so we can get more corporate charters. And started out kind of slow because I mean, like I was working with the guys I was working with on this project, like they weren't too experienced in nightlife. So our first few events were a bit of a slow build, but like collectively we had a vision for what we wanted to accomplish. And now it's like, it's popping now. We're doing like 2 events a month. Different types of genres of music, but again, the parties make money. Sometimes we lose a bit here and there, but like, again, the revenue model is totally different than a nightclub. We make a lot of our money through corporate events. So like brand activations, birthday parties, wedding parties. We had like an MLM. We had a few MLM groups who do like sort of just like what do you call it, customer reward parties or whatever, things like that. So that's been going pretty well, and we got the green light to work on our next project within that group. So our next project is, I mentioned before, it's the printing press of the old Utusan Melayu office building.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, again, an industrial space, which we cleaned it up a bit, but we kept it very, very raw. And for that space, we're basically throwing a very similar strategy to our boat project. Boat project's brand is Dreamboat. So like, as in like, oh, that guy's such a dreamboat. You know what I mean? With the warehouse project, the name of it's industry.csl for Chan Sao Lin. So I just launched it like last week. We threw our first party there. So it was, no one knows about the project. So I made it like basically a secret warehouse party. We had to kind of find the location. It's up your alley, bro, with the treasure hunt thing.
Yeah.
So we didn't publish the location anywhere, but like if you bought a ticket or you're on the list, the day before the event, we kind of dropped the general location.
Oh, okay.
So a few people got kind of lost, but it made it kind of fun for them. And the event went really viral. People were talking about it. So It was a success. We had about like 500 people down in that event space. So moving forward, we're just trying to work with different promoters to like basically come on board to bring over acts, and we can do like partnerships, or they can just rent the space from us. But again, like we have an advantage because I feel like in this current market, I was talking before about the bottle popping scene versus the current market. This is definitely not a bottle popping project. I mean, our rental for the venue, we're in the process of like getting like our final rate card done, but we're very, very competitive compared to the other projects in the market because we're just basically a stripped down, factory, essentially.
Well, isn't that kind of how like APW started as well in Bangsar, and that was a printing press.
Exactly.
And now look at it; it's a full-on, full-scale development with restaurants and event space and clothing stores and retail outlets.
I'm boys with Soonway. He's actually like the curator behind that. He's brilliant, super smart guy, like really raw creative. We're kind of similar, but like I think APW is definitely more upmarket than us. Like ours is like really raw and gritty. So I think APW may have started out like that, but for us right now, like I have a pretty big complex. I mean, just the event space we're looking at is 8,000 square feet. Outside I have another like 10 to 12,000, and then a separate building I have another like probably 6 and 8. So there's a lot of space. So we start off with this first room first, and from there it's like, the idea with industry, with the whole complex is we're just trying to create, again, a community hub where people can come, a lifestyle community hub. There's definitely gonna be like party stuff, but there's definitely gonna be family-friendly stuff too as well. Like we're throwing like a Raya fest as well, like during like the Hari Raya period. And the whole idea with it too as well is I'm trying to get a lot of the creatives to come down, like we're doing more events, just to check it out and give us feedback for what they want. And then we'll kind of adjust the product accordingly to cater to whatever market is in that area, But again, Chancel Inn, it's really industrial. So I don't think that's the good thing about it is that there's no residential there. So if we throw events, like there's no complaints, right? But the bad thing about it is like you just don't have a residential community of people who are just gonna pop over, It's more people who are working in the area will come over. So we're still kind of hammering a lot of that out. But my style, I'm fine with working like this. Like I'm pretty improvisational in terms of like creative. So, but yeah, first event went well. We're going to quiet down until after Ramadan, but I think we're going to do like a few more parties, probably starting in April. So I have that, the boat student. So 2 events a month at industry, and then 2 events a month in the boat. And then we're going to start looking to do more events in Langkawi as well. So
they have a resort there or something, right?
Yeah, they have a resort there. And we just launched a new villa there as well.
Okay.
So it's like a 13-bedroom kind of complex. Again, it's quite far away from the hotel, so you could probably throw private events there and it wouldn't disturb anybody. And the story behind that, we called it Dream Villa because it's kind of the sister outlet to Dreamboat. Dream Villa was originally built by Tansri for like his family, but then I think they weren't staying there very much, so he just kind of like gave it to us and was like, see what you can do with this. So we did all the branding for it. I brought in like a pretty cool, one of my boys is an FPV drone pilot, so we shot a really cool promo video. So we're getting more bookings for it. It's very optimized for like weddings, because you have, again, 13 bedrooms, really nice pool, ocean view. Yeah, it's a cool project to work on.
Yeah, it sounds exciting.
Yeah, so that's kind of like one wing of my portfolio is, again, it's more real estate development. It definitely like taps into my skill set from like my time at Zook, and then some of my club stuff too as well. And my time off, I was doing a lot of like eco travel. So there's elements of that kind of brought into it. But that's moving forward. And then I have another client as well, Babel Fit, which is like completely separate, but it's like all in like the fitness and wellness space, which is like an area where I definitely spend a lot more time taking care of my body these days versus like going out drinking and stuff like that. So definitely a passion for me, and it's very fun. Like it's very much in the play space for me right now, which like I couldn't say the same about like some of my previous like job positions, like in the past like 5 or 6 years. So I'm in a good place.
So what's the routine like then if you're taking care of yourself?
The routine is like, well, during that period off, I think it was about a year and a half I was off, like I realized I was neglecting a lot of things with my body. So I had an issue with my ankle. I hurt it playing basketball like 10 years ago. And I just never rehabbed it properly. And then like by not doing that, like it affected my opposite knee, and there's just all these other issues. So over that time period off, I just really spent a lot of time feeling my body out and like we were talking about stretching earlier, really just stretching everything out to where I felt like I was like, okay, this is the new baseline, and I'm not gonna shift back on this. I'm sticking with this, right? I also started doing a lot more just recovery stuff, like foam rolling in terms of like sauna, steam. When I could find a cold plunge in California or whatever, I would do that as well. Not to go too deep in the cold plunge thing, because I'm not someone who does it like every day, but like I think there is a lot of use to it. Like set aside like the benefits of like, you know, longevity, heart health, or whatever, getting rid of toxins. I'm just talking about like the ability to tolerate the pain and the discomfort. Like I've taken that skill and applied it to many other elements of my life. So one of them being like just impulse control in general. Like right now I'm like kind of hungry, you know, I'm fasting right now. John of like 10 years ago would be like, I'm starving, I need to eat now. Whereas for myself, I'm just like, okay, I hear you, but like, you can shut up and we can proceed with my day, you know? So just things like that. I mean, another example would be like, I don't know, man, just like looking at beautiful girls, I'm not like entranced by that anymore. I can just kind of like look the other way. There's a lot of different like elements I feel though, like in terms of just the ability to fight urges. It's very important. It's made me a much better person, let's put it that way. Yeah. So in terms of day-to-day, back to like the whole like fitness and wellness thing, like my routine now. So obviously I started working again. I'm pretty busy. I have like 2 positions, right? And my contribution's like pretty important to both companies. I still try to work out as much as I can. Certain days I cut back, but like again, I feel like the 30 minutes of stretching is really important to me. Again, it's kind of where I gather my day. Sleep is really important to me. I wasn't sleeping well at all prior to like my time off. My time off, I was sleeping obviously fantastic. I had no stress, right? Now I'm trying to get 7-8 hours, you know? What else?
What about supplements? You doing anything?
Supplements.
You do any vitamins or supplements or anything like that, or no?
I'm on like, I have to take statins. I have high cholesterol. Yeah, I take fish oil.
Okay.
I was trying apple cider vinegar for a while because I was trying to lose weight, and I heard it was like a natural version of Ozempic or whatever.
Really?
But it didn't make a difference. I was taking it, but it didn't make a difference for me. I was still hungry.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see, what else? I take zinc if I'm feeling not so great. I'm not sure if it has an impact. That's pretty much it. I don't take a multivit at the moment. Yeah.
I do a heavy stack multivitamin and vitamin C, and that's it. That's all I do. You know, obviously cold plunge, sauna,
Yeah.
workout. You know, legs are important for me.
Yeah.
I especially since, you know, pre skiing trip, I was doing a lot of legs. But yeah, legs, I feel like I told you 100 squats a day.
Right.
And you're supposed to be able to. The ideal scenario, I guess, is 100 squats a day with half your body weight, which I don't know. I haven't done that yet. That's a lot. For me, that'd be like over 100 pounds, 100 times a day. But yeah, I'm definitely doing 100 squats a day.
So I was telling you earlier, like I got a checkup in December, just a blood test, and it said I had like high triglycerides, which is basically like pre-diabetic, and like we spoke about this before. We're both like, you know, former athletes, current athletes, former athletes, or whatever, and I was just like, I took it to heart. So I'm like, and I was like, I think I was like asking ChatGPT or whatever, like, how do I bring this down? Even like the doctor was like, you work out like pretty much every day. Like I can't really say much else. Maybe lose some weight, you know? So I think at that point I was like 90 kilos. So as I mentioned, we're both like 43 now. So I was like, it's about time for me to get another full body check. I think the last one was probably around around 38. So I'm getting one in April. So now I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna do my best to try to drop this weight just to see if it affects my numbers at all.
Yeah, that's a good goal, right? I'm going on Friday, actually. I'm going on Friday to do like my annual health check.
Right.
And last year wasn't that good. Like I had a scare last year, right? Because I was taking creatine at the time, and I wasn't drinking enough water.
I
Apparently,
was thinking of like starting creatine actually. What do you think about that?
I'm not on it anymore because of the exact reason I'm going to tell you, right? So last year I was doing creatine, I was working out, along with my multivitamin, my vitamin C, and but apparently I wasn't drinking enough water or something because when I got my blood test back, when I got my urine test back, it said that my body wasn't. It was producing too much creatine and like my
kidneys or no?
Yeah, and my kidneys weren't like I can't remember what it's called, the GU or something. It wasn't like giving enough flow through my kidneys. And the doctor was like a little bit worried. I said, look, man, I'm taking creatine. I was like, give me, I'll get off the creatine. Give me 2 weeks and I'll come back. And I got off the creatine and I don't know, I was quite nervous, right? So I worked out like a madman, ate super healthy, 2 weeks, went back, everything was perfect.
Okay.
So I think it was the creatine.
Right.
Hence, I'm not doing the creatine anymore. But
Okay.
everybody else I speak to says that creatine is, this is the reason I was doing it, because it's like a soup. It's really good for you. There's a lot of studies done on it. I mean, it's been studied for 30 years, more than that. It's apparently good for your brain. It's good for your muscle growth.
Yeah, I've read a lot of literature on it saying it's like really good for you as well.
Yeah, and but there have also been a couple of scares with this extra creatine, right? So maybe I'm one of those people, one of the very few that it affects in that way, or maybe I just wasn't drinking enough water.
Okay.
I don't know, but I don't really want to find out again.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So other than that, just sticking to it.
Are you doing do you have like a protein supplement you take? Or?
No, I don't do protein. I don't do any protein. Just eat. Eat chicken, beef. Right? Yeah. Fish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my side I've really tried. I mean, obviously the Ozempic thing is a big thing. Like I know a lot of people who are taking it, and a lot of people who really struggle to lose weight, they take it and it really makes an impact.
Yeah.
I just really tried to raw dog it this time on my own, just to see if I can do
I
it.
want to go old school, right?
Yeah.
Use my mind rather than needing a drug to take off the weight. And I think that stems to the cold plunge, right? Using my mind to overcome something.
Exactly.
I think that's super important. Being able to mentally focus on goals, and losing weight is a goal just like any other goal.
Yeah.
Right? And you can use your mind to create a plan and to focus on achieving that goal.
I think the key too is just figuring out what foods to eat. I would kind of watch a lot of content and it would be high protein, don't eat so much greasy stuff. But when you actually are practicing the diet, I remember when I first started, I was okay. I was down. Let's start back in the day. I was eating 3 meals a day, right? Then I was okay. I got a bit overweight. This is when I was in my 30s. I cut it down to 2 meals, and then I dropped down to being pretty slim again. And now I feel I'm in my 40s. I had to cut off a half meal again, bro. I'm down to 1.5 meals a day on my side in order to lose weight. But I find that if I had to give any nugget of advice to anyone trying to lose weight or whatever, or while trying to maintain a bit of muscle, I've been really enjoying eating boiled eggs. And this sounds so lame, right? But the soft boiled, the Asian style, if you can do that right, it's basically boil it for 8 minutes, pull it out, drop it in a glass or a bucket of ice water. They taste so good with a little bit of sesame oil. So I've been smashing those pretty much every day. I'll have 1 or 2. And it's almost a meal, that with a protein shake and a bit of nasty Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt will definitely need some fruits in there too as well to kill the boring flavor. It's okay. That's my lunch these days. And I'm getting by, it's working, you know what I mean?
Yeah, eggs are a superfood, man. Eggs are the superfood. When I had that scare, right, I was looking at special diets. Every time eggs came up, it was the thing, the go-to.
Yeah.
Eggs are a superfood. You get a lot of protein. You get everything that you need out of eggs, and it's healthy.
In Cali growing up though, they always made them super hard boiled. The yolk is just all
Yeah, but
dry.
eggs in America weren't that good either. Eggs in America, the yolk is yellow.
Yeah, the Asians have got it down, man. I don't know what it is.
Here they're orange because they're fresh. Yellow means it's been sitting in some factory for weeks. That's an old egg.
Right.
If you get a yellow egg here, it's a rarity. I remember discovering that when I was in New Zealand too. I was wow, everything is so fresh, right? Because it's fresh food. Yeah, man.
So like right now with Babel, a lot of the stuff we're doing, I mean, Babel is a big box gym here in town, but like very soon, so the owner of Boone is really a visionary, and it hits very close to home with him too as well. His dad passed, I would say like 8 or 9 years ago, and like when previous to him passing, he was like really, he's like, I would trade like, you know, half my fortune to be able to live like another 10 years. You know what I mean? So Boone himself is really big on longevity and trying to figure out how to optimize things for people across the board, from a young age all the way until like you're elderly or whatever. So in the next probably year, he's launching like a longevity clinic, which will feature like everything from like aesthetics, stem cells to like basically all types of like, I mean, these again, we'll have like MD medical doctors on
Nice.
board there. Yeah, so it'll be
Nice.
full stack. From there, you'll have that one part of the clinic, and then they will work with like kind of the trainers to implement a lot of the practices to solve
Where
all
is
these
it?
problems.
Where is Babel now?
A TTDI, Tamantu.
TTDI. Okay.
Yeah.
And where are they going to launch the clinic? Do you know where that's
Next
gonna
door, yeah.
be? Oh, in TTDI as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
so
right, good. We need a good longevity clinic here, especially one for men. I feel like
Right.
there's not many that focus on men.
that's true.
You know, we need
That's
one
true.
like with a real men's health kick. That would be nice.
Yeah, so it's coming together. So I'm advising in terms of strategy and branding for that.
Mm.
And myself, I'm kind of using myself as a case study too. You know, I'm just trying to like get myself in as good of shape as possible so I can like represent the brand. You know, so it's definitely a journey.
What's the timeline on that clinic, you think?
I mean, it'll definitely be up and running by end of the year, but in terms of all the different like kind of services, it might take another like year to roll out.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
But yeah, that's basically it on my side in terms of what I'm working on, like the fitness and wellness stuff, and then the lifestyle programming stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tell people where they can find you. We'll wrap things up.
Instagram, Langan209. Where else? That's pretty much it, I guess. And that's one thing I really update these days. So
All right.
hit me up there.
Good enough. Thanks for coming on, John.
Cool. Thanks, Mike. A
It
pleasure.
was fun, right?
Cheers, homie.
Cheers, dude.